Hi, I'm Becky from the SLT Scrapbook, and I'm going to share some tips for managing challenging situations in parent coaching sessions. Working with families in early intervention is extremely rewarding. However, it's not without its own unique challenges. Today, I'm going to talk through 5 different hypothetical scenarios which you may encounter as a speech and language therapist or speech language pathologist working in early intervention. I'll talk through each one and then give ideas for how you could try and manage that challenging situation in your sessions. Scenario 1. Parents or caregivers are distracted by an unexpected event in the session. I'm sure we've all had these sessions where something unexpected happens. They are everyday occurrences, but because they weren't planned or expected, they can make the parent or caregiver feel embarrassed, flustered, or even become distracted by the event itself. And sometimes they can disrupt and take over the whole session. It could be something like a spillage, a spilled drink by the child or the caregiver, or the cereal bowl being knocked over at breakfast time. The parent or caregiver may become distracted by the mess and begin cleaning it up, which is fine. But they may then continue cleaning the kitchen while you wait with the child for them to come back. But because they've become distracted by that task, they don't come back. Or it could be a breakage, but it's a similar thing. The parent or caregiver may begin to clean up the broken cup or plate and then become distracted. Like after putting the plate in the rubbish bin or trash can, they may notice that it needs emptying. So then they take the rubbish or trash outside and then they start to vacuum and so on. It could also be a noisy dog or an overexcited kitten in my case. The parent or caregiver may be embarrassed and flustered. They may apologise and take the dog outside. But rather than returning right away, they might play with the dog for a little while or sort out its food and water, that kind of thing. These examples can potentially be challenging to manage because they make you feel confused or uncertain too, and they've taken away from the activity you were doing, so it can be hard to refocus the parent or caregiver back to the planned activity. However, these are actually great times to coach and support parents and caregivers to use strategies. In their book, Early Intervention Every Day, Crawford and Webber state that all exchanges between adult and child offer the potential for learning. So even though these unexpected events could potentially disrupt your session, they actually reflect real life. So try and turn them into opportunities for parents and caregivers to use language strategies and target the child's goals in real life scenarios. By doing so, it can help parents and caregivers feel more confident in using strategies in more situations than just those you have planned. Here are a few tips to help you manage those unexpected events in your sessions. Firstly, reassure them about the situation and acknowledge that these type of things happen. Kindly reiterate the importance of their involvement in the session and highlight the benefits of practicing in real-life situations such as these. Encourage the parent or caregiver to think about how they could involve the child in the activity, i.e., can they give the child a cloth to help clean up the spillage, or can they go with the parent while they take the dog outside? And what strategies could they use alongside? And then coach them as required. Scenario 2. Siblings are keen to be involved during the session. This is another common situation many of us find ourselves in, but it is another great one, as again, it reflects real life, particularly now where we may see more siblings at home than previously. Siblings may answer for the child, join in with a game or activity, take the toys, or take the caregiver's attention during the activity, and that makes it harder to coach them as they're understandably distracted. Our role in parent coaching is to empower the parents and caregivers to use strategies effectively at home to support their child's development. So practicing with siblings in the session makes it a much more practical and realistic situation for them. Crawford and Webber explain that parents and caregivers should be coached in using strategies and managing situations effectively while being responsive to both or all children, rather than having to figure out how to use those strategies while looking after the other children after the therapist has left. We know that having siblings in sessions can present unique challenges, but it does reflect real life, so it's important to acknowledge this and to support parents and caregivers to manage this in between sessions. By doing so, you will support carryover at home because they'll feel confident in using strategies with all of their children present in between the visits. So reassure parents and caregivers about the situation, acknowledge and remind them that it's real life, highlight the benefits of practicing while both or all children are there, rather than them having to work it out on their own after the session. Encourage the parent or caregiver to think about how they could use strategies and still be responsive to both or all of their children. Discuss and problem solve together. Listen to their concerns and work together to come up with a way to help them manage these situations in between sessions, and then coach the parent or caregiver to use strategies as appropriate. Scenario 3. Only one parent or caregiver is following through with strategies. This can be frustrating and challenging for parents and caregivers, as it may be that just one parent is doing the strategies and the other is not. For example, one may use communication temptations as coached to do, but the other may just give snacks and toys without using them. This can be challenging, as the parent doing the strategies may feel like all their hard work is being undone, and they could feel undermined, and they may also be worried about it affecting the child's progress. It can be difficult when only one caregiver is at the visit, as it then becomes their responsibility to pass the information and strategies on to the other. If the parent or caregiver does tell you that the other caregiver is not using strategies, there are some ways you can manage this. So if there's one caregiver present in the session, affirm their feelings and thank them for their honesty. Empathise with them about the challenges that it presents. Discuss what they've been doing so far, praise them for their efforts, and try problem solve together. Offer to arrange a visit when both parents and caregivers are at home, or offer a time to speak with the other parent and caregiver via telephone to discuss things if they want to. If both parents and caregivers are present, empathise with them and acknowledge the challenges. Discuss the family routine and problem solve together. Try identify a few specific things that the caregiver could do at home with the child during these times. Scenario 4. The parent or caregiver would rather you do direct therapy with the child. Now, I'm sure many of us have experienced something like this before. Either the parent or caregiver takes more of a back seat in the sessions, so you naturally do more direct therapy with the child, or they outwardly tell you that they want you to work one-to-one with the child rather than doing parent coaching. Honestly, it can be so easy to fall into that routine of you leading the sessions and caregivers observing, and then you give advice at the end, but that isn't coaching, and it isn't as beneficial for little ones. And here's why. Toddlers spend way more time at home than they do with you. So the progress will happen in those in-between times. You need to be spending your sessions coaching the parent or caregiver to use strategies effectively, and then they can practice using them in between your visits, rather than spending that time working one-to-one with the child. Because your 1 hour working on strategies will make very little impact if no one's carrying it over throughout the week when you're not there. So here's an idea for how you can manage that situation. Affirm their feelings and thank the parent and caregiver for their honesty. Acknowledge that parent coaching can feel unusual and difficult at first, because it does feel strange to have someone come into your home and watch you interact with your child. Explain the benefit that parent coaching has for the child. Highlight the difference between the amount of time spent at home with the parent and caregiver and the amount of time spent with you. Discuss generalisation and carryover of skills in regards to this. Discuss with the parent and caregiver how you can make things feel more manageable for them. Get their feedback about things they want more help with, and begin there. Work on building that relationship together so that then they see the benefit of coaching. Scenario 5. Difficulty building a relationship with a parent or caregiver. Building good working relationships is a crucial part of parent coaching. There may be times when you just don't gel with a family, and that's totally normal. But you can still develop a good working relationship together. Rather than focusing on the fact that you don't gel together and then beginning to worry about or dread those sessions, focus on the things that you can do to show them that you care and you want to help them. Some studies by Amsbury and colleagues, Leadbitter and colleagues, and Reader and Morris, all from 2020, have discussed different aspects of this recently, and if you're an informed SLP member, be sure to check out their reviews of the articles on there. But the studies explain that in order to develop a good working relationship with families, they need to feel heard, appreciated, and valued, and they need to trust you. Now, you may feel like you're already showing them this, but the studies suggest that the best way to do it and develop these good working relationships are to involve them in decision making, value their contributions, be positive about their child, be empathetic about any difficulties and challenges they face, and show that we care about their child. Now, this all may sound great, but just how do we do this and make sure we're doing it in our sessions? Well, here are some ways you can work towards these values in your sessions. Firstly, regularly reflect on your role in the intervention. You want to aim for a partnership with you and the parent or caregiver, rather than you pushing your own agenda and dismissing their views. They need to know your role and their role in the intervention, and you both want to reflect on this regularly. Next, frequently check in with the parent or caregivers to see what they think about the intervention, the strategies, the format of the sessions. Get their feedback about what's going well and what's not. Show them that you value their contributions and opinions. And remember that any intervention has to work for them and not just be what works for you. And lastly, encourage them to actively take part in sessions. Ask for their opinions, their thoughts, ideas. Encourage them to think when they might use a strategy rather than just you providing all of the information. So, I hope this has been helpful for you. My 3 key points to reiterate are: working with families in early intervention is wonderful, but it can be challenging, and that's okay. You have the skills to problem solve and manage those challenging situations. And always focus on building strong working relationships. Easy for me to say. Parent coaching is a skill, and it's something I'm really passionate about. If you want more tips and advice, be sure to check out my resource, the Early Intervention Handbook, which is bursting with tips and ideas to help you plan and deliver effective, evidence-based parent coaching sessions in early intervention without the overwhelm.